As we look back at this gaggle of obdurate, arrogant, stubborn, unrepentant, heartless, self-serving bunch of arseholes who have spent the last 14 years trying to keep their useless, megalomaniacal political party together while sleepwalking the country into a kitchen blender. 14 years, 5 prime ministers, 7 chancellors, 8 foreign secretaries, 13 culture secretaries, one of whom was Nadine Dorries, a woman so stupid she thinks Channel 4 is a brand of perfume. 8 home secretaries, including grinning exorcist doll Priti Patel, Sajid Javid, James Hilarious rape jokes cleverly, and far-right pin-up Suella Braverman. Twice! A woman who says multiculturalism has failed, even though her, Patel, Javid cleverly, Sunak, Kwarteng, Zahawi, Badenoch are proof that even if you do have brown skin, you too can become a vicious, festering, regressive, lying, greedy, nasty, eye-wateringly wealthy, but morally bankrupt cunt. No fewer than 16 housing ministers, which explains why the UK is the most difficult place to find a home in the developed world. In 2000, a home cost 4 times the average salary. Now it costs 8 times the average salary, and workers are 11 grand worse off a year after 15 years of almost completely unprecedented wage stagnation. We've gone from 29 billionaires to 177 billionaires, whilst the working classes endured crippling austerity. The highest taxes in 70 years, lowest corporate taxes in 50 years. The rich are richer and the poor are much poorer, and your average high street is boarded up. We've endured David Cameron's hubris, Theresa May's chaos, Boris Johnson's lies, and Liz Truss throwing £30 billion of your money down the shitter. 100 billion in lost trade due to Brexit, 40 billion in lost tax revenues due to Brexit, whilst our farmers and our fishermen were sold down the river. The worst trade deficit since records began, and our national debt is now at 3 trillion. Average student debt has gone from 5k to 50k, homelessness has doubled, child poverty has tripled, an energy crisis that has little to do with the war in Ukraine and more to do with unfettered capitalism and unbridled greed. Highest energy bills in Europe, with 6.7 million people currently living in fuel poverty. The party of law and order have overseen record backlogs in the Crown Court, delays of 5 years for rape cases, with rapists being spared jail because the prisons are full. Chronic shortages of judges on top of a narrative that says they're all enemies of the people. They sold off 600 police stations. They cut police numbers by 21,000, then increased police numbers by 20,000, which is not an increase in police numbers, no matter how many times they tell you it is. Highest train fares in Europe, lowest state pension in Europe, longest waiting lists in NHS history, a nation with rotting teeth and people being hospitalised with malnutrition and scurvy, billions of taxpayers' money wasted on PPE contracts for their rich mates, and they let the bodies pile high and kill tens of thousands of pensioners during the pandemic, and then they lied about it. They cut our armed forces, they closed and sold off our fire stations, they closed, then sold off our libraries, they didn't build those 40 new hospitals, and they forced councils into bankruptcy. They wasted billions on HS2. They voted to allow bankers to have unlimited bonuses. They allowed BP and Shell to steal our oil and gas reserves without paying taxes, whilst Norway, of course, went the other way and has a sovereign wealth fund of over 1.6 trillion. And record amounts of our tammies and turds are being churned into our rivers and oceans by our privatised water companies. Windrush, Grenfell, Partygate, Barnard Castle, 30p Lee, bullying, affairs, groping and rape and tractor porn and Chris Pincher and corruption and dirty deals and racist donors and lies and lies and lies. And yes, the pandemic didn't help and the war in Ukraine hasn't helped, but don't believe them when they tell you that that's the reason that you are poorer this week than you were last week, whilst Rishi Sunak is richer this week than he was last week. Rishi Sunak cut taxes on champagne on the same day he cut funding to rebuild schools, and he wants to bring back national service. What else are they going to bring back? Grandstand? Spam on the national health? Snickers going back to marathon? I look forward to voting these incompetent, hubristic grifters out, and I hope they spend a very long time in the wilderness and have a really good think about what they just did. Well, a trip down memory lane